Discover the incredible truth. What your blood type reveals about your heartwarming spirit. The afternoon sun bathed Maple Grove in golden light, casting long shadows that warmed the bustling community center. Every year, the annual health fair drew scores of residents eager to check their health and donate blood. Yet this year, something extraordinary was about to happen. As Emma knelt beside her son Jake, she felt the weight of judgmental glares from neighbors. Being a single mother in a small Midwestern town wasn't easy. Between her shifts at the hospital and Jake's endless dreams of becoming a basketball star, she fought hard against the whispers that seemed to echo, a nurse and her boy, just struggling to get by. But deep down, her love for Jake fueled her relentless optimism. With a shakiness in her hands, Emma filled out the medical forms at the fair, her heart racing. Amidst the laughter and chatter, the blood test would soon reveal more than just numbers. It felt like a leap into the unknown, an act that would alter the course of their lives. In a twist of fate, the results showed that Jake shared a rare blood type with none other than Mr. Thompson, the town's revered war veteran. With his wrinkles, silver hair, and warm hazel eyes, Mr. Thompson was like a living history book, teaching resilience to those who took the time to listen as Emma stood by. She watched Jake approach Mr. Thompson, his basketball jersey clinging to his thin frame. The conversation that flowed between them was filled with stories, laughter, and a surprising friendship blossomed between the youthful dreams and elderly wisdom. Days turned into weeks, and each visit seemed to give Emma a glimmer of hope. Perhaps they could find a balance, a way forward that transcended fleeting judgments. However, a thunderous phone call pulled Emma back into her reality. Her heart sank as she spoke with her estranged father, a conversation fraught with the old tensions that had fractured their family years ago. Each word was a reminder of the choices she had made and the dreams unfulfilled. Just as her bond with Mr. Thompson gave her strength, her father's voice left her questioning her place in the world. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she prepared for the next basketball game, doubt seeped in. During a crucial moment on the court, Jake faced discrimination. Whispers and snickers laced through the crowd, like poisoned arrows aimed at his spirit. Emma's heart ached as she witnessed the heaviness in Jake's chest, the reality of unfairness stealing the hope she had fought so hard to instill into that moment. Emma realized that their struggles mirrored each other. She felt the anger rise, but fleeting memories of Mr. Thompson's lessons reminded her. Resilience ran deeper than any social label. Suddenly, the weight of expectations, judgment, and fear collided. Would she remain silent, or would she find her voice to stand tall, not just for Jake, but for herself and their place in the community? The stakes rose as they faced the town during a crucial community meeting, where huddled whispers could shift to powerful voices of unity or division. Emma was at a crossroads, eager yet fearful. With the town at the brink, she felt the question linger: could love conquer the shadows of judgment? It was a moment of inevitability, a choice that would determine her family's future. Would she take a stand? And could they all find healing in the shared truths they dared to uncover? The community center buzzed with an anxious energy. Residents shuffled into the packed room, murmured conversations creating a low hum that filled the air. As Emma took her place at the front, a knot tightened in her stomach. This was no ordinary meeting. It felt like a turning point. Jake stood beside her, his youthful enthusiasm dulled by the weight of the stares that followed him. Looking out into the crowd, Emma spotted familiar faces transformed by uncertainty. Old friends exchanged glances, unsure of how to react to the unspoken tension in the air. Fear and anger danced lightly among them as she took a deep breath, gathering her resolve. She had rehearsed what she wanted to say 1,000 times in her head, but now, in front of everyone, the words felt like butterflies caught in her throat. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice trembling. The room fell silent, eyes locking onto her as if searching for answers. I know times are tough, and there are things we don't talk about, things like judgment and misunderstanding. Jake's eyes sparkled with hope. It ignited something in her, a flicker of warmth amidst the anxiety. But we have a choice. To see beyond labels, beyond who we think we are, and become who we want to be. Some faces turned sharply, disbelief etched across brows. She pressed on. Jake faced something very painful at our last game. The whispers, the jokes, he felt it all. And it hurts. It hurts me too to see my son being treated differently because of who he is. A murmur rippled through the crowd, confusion clashing with sympathy. Emma stole a glance at Mr. Thompson, who nodded in encouragement. In that moment, she found her voice. We're all trying to navigate our own challenges. We're not defined by our struggles, but how we rise from them. Emma began to share the story of her and Jake's journey together, the challenges they faced as a single-parent family, the quiet strength she learned from Mr. Thompson, and how love could unify even the most fractured hearts. Each word poured from her soul, a carefully crafted bridge for the community to understand not just her story, but their collective truths. Then she held her breath, seeing some faces soften, but others remained set in disbelief. Her heart raced. Would they turn against her? Would their whispers grow louder? When we judge others, we miss out on the beautiful connections that bring us together. We all have hearts that beat the same. We all belong. The silence in the room shifted slightly as some nodded in agreement. It felt like a crack had appeared in their walls of prejudice. But just then, someone shouted from the back. You can't just ignore the truth. Yes, not like us. The room recoiled, the tension snapping like a taut wire, and she felt Jake tense beside her. In that moment, everything felt like it hung in the balance. Emma sensed the weight of the crowd's gaze crush upon her. Would this anger spiral into something destructive? Or could it signal a willingness to understand? As she opened her mouth to respond, she felt her heart pounding against her rib cage. A surge of determination ignited within her. She wasn't just standing for Jake anymore. She was standing for everyone who felt like they didn't belong. The stakes were higher than she ever imagined. In that powerful instant, Emma wondered, could one voice change hearts in a town marked by division and fear? The weight of expectation pulsed in the air, and the moment of truth lingered, trembling with unspoken possibility. Would the town come together, or would fear rule the day? Emma inhaled sharply, her chest tight as she faced the hostile crowd. She could feel Jake's tension radiating beside her, his youthful spirit dimmed by that one voice. The shout had pierced through her speech, revealing a stark line in the sand that divided them. It was no longer just about Jake. It was about truth itself and how it clashed with fear. Every one of us is different, she said, striving to keep her voice steady. But different doesn't mean wrong. Behind each of our stories lies a human spirit, a heart that longs for acceptance. A murmur spread through the room. Some turned to their neighbors, uncertain, while others shut down like flowers wilting under a harsh sun. She noticed Mrs. Edwards, her old friend, biting her lip. This was it, the pivotal moment that could either challenge minds or shut them down completely. Think of the times when you felt alone, Emma pressed on. The ache of being misunderstood. It's not an easy feeling. But when we let go of our fear and invite understanding in, we open doors that bind us together. Jake shifted closer, his small hand searching for hers. She squeezed it, drawing strength from that simple connection. His eyes were wide, reflecting both apprehension and hope. Imagine a place where labels don't define us, Emma said, growing bolder. A community where we cheer for one another, not tear each other down. When I look at my son, I see a bright future, a future that can only happen if we stand united. A few heads nodded, the motion hesitant yet promising. But the voice from the back barked again. That's naive. You think everyone will just change their minds because you say so? Emma felt the sting of doubt creeping in, hot in the back of her throat. A leader shouldn't waver, but she could still feel the wall of resistance pressing tight. It was infuriating, yet at the same time, it reminded her of the struggle that made them all human. It's not about a switch flipping overnight, she exclaimed, the fire in her voice rising. It's a journey, a process. We're all hurt by the things we may not understand. But isn't it worth it to try? Isn't it our duty to listen instead of judge? More faces softened, threads of realization pulling through the fabric of the crowd. Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the air, a deep booming tone, calm yet powerful. Emma is right. If we want change, we need to be part of it. It's not enough to sit back and point fingers. The energy in the room began shifting again. While the naysayers still gripped tight to their beliefs, others seemed to waver, glancing around as if finally seeing their neighbors for the first time. Then, a brave spirit in the front row stood up, his face flushed. I think Emma has a point. I've seen the way Jake plays. He's braver than me sometimes. Maybe I've been looking at him the wrong way. An audible gasp floated through the air, followed by murmured agreement. Emma felt a surge of joy intertwined with nervousness. Could this be the bridge she needed? With each step forward that the crowd took, the more her heart swelled with hope. But not everyone was on board. From the corner of the room, a group of older men whispered amongst themselves, their expressions unreadable, shadows looming in their eyes. And then Emma caught a glimpse of Jack, Jake's closest friend, standing at the edge of the doorway. He looked unsure, torn between loyalty and truth. Emma, she whispered to herself, this is just the beginning. Would the tides truly change? Or would they remain caught in a cycle of fear and division? With hearts racing and tensions fraying, Emma steeled herself for the potential fallout that awaited. She was fighting for Jake, for her community, but was the community truly ready to fight for acceptance? The moment lingered, pregnant with possibility. All she could do was hold her breath and hope. What would happen next? As moment after moment passed, the tension hung thick in the air. The murmurs among the crowd grew, some supportive, others hesitant. Emma caught snippets of conversation that stirred old wounds. That boy might not belong, it's against tradition. She could feel each word like a pinprick, the negative energy shooting through her. But amidst the chaos, Jack made a move. Cautiously, he descended the steps toward the front. Emma's heart quickened. There he was, teetering on the edge of a decision that might just tip the scale. Hey, everyone. Jack's voice broke through the murmurs. It wasn't too loud but carried an earnestness that stopped people in their tracks. Emma leaned forward, clutching Jake's hand tighter, willing him to feel the shift in the air. I just wanted to say, Jack faltered, casting a glance at Jake, who stood frozen by his mother's side. I've been friends with Jake for years. He's the same kid who makes the best gaming buddy in town and who always shares his snacks. Why do we have to let a label change things? Her breath caught in her throat. Could this be it? Could his words ignite something in the hearts surrounding them? But a voice called out from the back, trembling with indignation. Different? Yeah, maybe. But isn't that what makes life interesting? Jack shot back, his courage swelling. We need to own our differences. If we don't, how will we teach our kids to embrace who they are? Like a fuse ignited, the atmosphere crackled with awakening. Faces animated, discussions sprang to life, not the resistant murmurs she'd encountered before, but genuine exchanges of thought. Emma's heart soared, yet a knot twisted in her stomach. This could go either way. Emma felt the tension in Jake's small hand, still gripping hers. She turned to him, whispering, "You're stronger than anyone realizes. Jake, just be you." His wide eyes glimmered with gratitude, and for the first time that night, he smiled. But the doubt didn't evaporate in a single moment. Voices from the back still pierced the hopeful ambience. A tall man, rigid with discontent, shot a finger toward the front. What about tradition? We're not meant to change everything just because it feels good. The room stilled. The question loomed heavy over Emma. She could see Jake, his innocent face brimming with a mix of curiosity and confusion. Did he understand the complexity of this moment? It wasn't just about him or Jack. It was a deeper fight for acceptance transcending generations. Tradition can keep us grounded, but it can also trap us in fear. Emma said firmly, her voice stronger now. We all have roots, But we also have wings. We should be able to grow and change together. Some heads nodded again, slow and tentative, but they were nodding. Hope burgeoned through the cracks, like spring flowers breaking through snow. Let us start a conversation. Jack stepped in again, his voice steady and true. Let us not be afraid to talk about it, even if it's hard. As the murmur grew, Emma glanced towards the men who had been restless in their corner. She noticed their hardened expressions waver, eyes darting in an unspoken realization that they could engage, could bridge the gap rather than widen it. And then, with a crack in the brewing storm, an unexpected sound erupted. From the back row, a woman stood resolutely. I've been scared, I'll admit it, but I also know we can't raise our kids in a world of hatred. I want to change. How do we do that? A man next to her interjected, his voice laced with uncertainty but curiosity. With the waves of acceptance crashing against the shore of fear, Emma felt the ground shift beneath her. They were stirring, waking from that stony slumber, ready to fight for the love they were all supposed to embody. But just as the momentum soared, a deafening silence blanketed the room when the doors swung open. A figure walked in, the mayor, eyes narrowed, face darker than a storm cloud. I had to see what all this commotion was about, he said, voice firm, eliciting gasps. Emma's heart sank. Was this the end of their small progress? Or the beginning of an even greater struggle? Why is he here? Jake whispered, eyes wide with fear. Because Emma said, inhaling deeply, this fight is far from over. And with the stakes higher than ever, the true battle for acceptance loomed ahead. What would the mayor say? Would he stand with them, or would he rally for a return to the status quo? The room felt like it had frozen in time. All eyes were on the mayor as he surveyed the crowd, taking in the tension, the apprehension, and the newfound spark of hope. Emma could feel the collective breath of the audience hold tight in their chests. Would he crush their fragile progress with a single word? Let us not waste time on empty talk. The mayor's voice cut through the silence, more thunderous now. This is a quaint gathering, but we have a city to run. We can't dwell on things that threaten our foundation. Emma's heart raced. The crowd thrummed with disapproval, a wave of murmurs washing over them. Jack's foot shifted nervously beside her, and she could see Jake's shoulders tense. This was it. Could they turn the tide? Or were they about to be swept back into the shadows? Mayor, with all due respect, Jack stepped forward, brimming with determination. What we're talking about tonight is more than just a tradition. It's about our kids' future. It's about acceptance, about being human. The mayor's expression shifted slightly, irritation dancing on his face. Tradition is what binds us together. We can't just throw that away because it feels good to be kind. Kindness shouldn't feel like throwing anything away. A woman from the back shouted, her voice clear and unwavering. We're not asking to erase our past. We're asking to embrace a future where everyone belongs. Emma felt a glimmer of hope. People were rallying, the weight of the mayor's presence no longer holding them down. She leaned closer to Jack. Their shared determination steadied her. We can't take a step back now, she whispered, her voice barely audible yet electric with conviction. Imagine a community where Jake can play freely, where kids can grow up without fear of judgment. Jack continued, glancing at Jake, whose eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and excitement. Tradition should serve us, not confine us. We can honor our roots while growing toward a brighter future. The murmurs transformed into a chorus of agreement, fueled by the strength of their conviction. Emma couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. Just days ago, fear and silence had held them captive. Now they were unleashing their hearts, and Jake was at the center of it all. Do you really think that denying someone the right to be themselves is a strong foundation? The woman challenged the mayor again, her courage inspiring others to echo her sentiments. What kind of message are we sending to our children? The mayor shifted, crossing his arms, but his facade was cracking. Emma noticed uncertainty creeping into his eyes. He was caught between a stubborn grip on tradition and the reality of change unfolding right before him. Suddenly, Jake tugged on Emma's hand. She turned to him, seeing the earnestness in his gaze that added fuel to her bravery. Mom, "Can I say something?" he asked, voice trembling yet loud enough to carry. A hush fell as the crowd turned their eyes toward him. Emma felt her heart expand and constrict simultaneously. "Everyone is talking about what's right and wrong. But I just want to be me," Jake breathed, his innocent words echoing loud in the silence. "Why can't that be enough?" Tears prickled at Emma's eyes. How could such simple honesty cut through the complex arguments around them? Jack knelt beside Jake, his face bursting with pride. "That's right, buddy. You're enough just as you are. And all of us are, too." A swell of applause erupted, washing over Jake like a warm tide. The mayor's face paled. This wasn't how he expected things to unfold. But then, a thunderous sound erupted from the back. An old man rose, his voice trembling with passion. "I remember when I was called an outcast in this town. I fought to belong, and I didn't get there by hiding. We need to open our hearts instead of closing the door." Emma's heart thudded in her chest like a drum. With each courageous voice, the foundation under the mayor seemed to shake. Would the weight of history crush their hopes, or could this moment cause it to fracture instead? Eyes darted between the mayor and the sea of passionate supporters. Emma felt the turning point swell. Would the mayor choose to listen, or would he dig in deeper, further threatening the evolution they sought? And in that charged atmosphere, it became clear the true test of their unity was brewing. Would they rally together to face whatever storm was coming next? The room grew heavy with anticipation, like a coiled spring about to snap. The mayor's face darkened as he surveyed the crowd. Emma could sense everything hinging on his next words. Would he break the tension with fear or illuminate the path forward? "Your feelings are noted, but feelings don't run a city," the mayor maintained, his tone flat and unyielding. "We cannot afford to stray too far from our core values." Jack clenched his fists. His voice rose again, carrying the weight of the moment. "You speak of core values, but what are they if they don't accommodate every single member of our community? Are we really a community if we exclude people?" The challenge hung in the air, crackling like electricity. Throughout the room, heads nodded, an undeniable current of determination surged. Emma could feel the fire rising within her. She had unearthed something fierce and unyielding. It was a feeling she wanted to cling to. "We're not just asking for acceptance, Mayor," she said, stepping forward. "We're asking for you to see that our differences are our strengths. They define us, not confine us." The room erupted into applause, and Emma's heart soared. She caught sight of Jake, his freckled face beaming, the hope sparkling in his eyes contagious. Standing beside Emma, Jack turned toward the mayor, the passion flowing from him. "Listen, this is about what it means to truly belong. It's about parents being able to look into their children's eyes and tell them they can be who they are without fear." The weight of those words settled on everyone like a thick fog, overpowering yet oddly liberating. The mayor's stubbornness faltered, and for just a moment, Emma could see him searching for footing amidst the shift. Then, a surprising voice broke through. A young woman stepped up from the back, her voice trembling but strong. "I grew up here. I was bullied in school, all for being who I am. I thought that tradition meant I had to change myself to fit in." The crowd quieted as she continued. "It didn't hurt just me. It hurt my family, too. Traditions don't mean anything if they don't promote love. We need to nurture what grows instead of stifling it." Emma felt her breath hitch. This was powerful. Each vulnerable story added grain upon grain to their collective resolve. The mayor's facade was waning as he appeared to be weighing their words like building blocks. "Each of us is a thread," the woman finished. "Together we can weave something beautiful. But if we keep pulling threads apart, our fabric will fray." Cheers erupted once more, filling the room with an almost electric energy. Folks were rising, each voice cracking the outdated shell of the mayor's rigidity. Emma glanced at Jake, whose eyes danced with excitement and newfound bravery. She squeezed his hand tightly, her heart swelling with pride and hope. The mayor's irritation transformed to conflict, his lips pressed tight as he navigated the fervor around him. Emma knew they were closer than ever to something monumental. But it was in his next move that they would either rise or fall. Suddenly, a man in the front row stood. "If not now, Then when he challenged the mayor, "The time for change is right in front of you. We can't live half-heartedly on traditions that don't uplift us." A subdued murmur swept through the crowd. Emma's heart raced. It was an undeniable moment of truth, and she could sense that the mayor was being pulled towards an uncharted territory. Then the mayor took a deep breath, his expression firming. "You've made your point, but I need time to consider the ramifications." Time. It was a word that felt heavy, like a question hanging in the air. What would happen when the clock struck the hour for decisions to be made? Emma exchanged glances with Jack and Jake, and the unspoken agreement flowed between them. They weren't about to let their momentum die. "We can't wait, Mayor," Jack called out, urgency threading through his voice. "Our children's future depends on your action. What do you stand for?" As the crowd rallied again, Emma felt that electric charge, hope tempered by anxiety. They were on the brink, but would the mayor take that final leap into the unknown? Quiet swept through the room as they all turned towards him, hearts racing. Emma's breath caught. They stood on the edge of something that could change their lives forever. What would the mayor decide? Would he embrace a new vision, or cling to the past when the moment of truth arrived? The silence felt endless, like a thick fog settling over the room. The mayor's brow furrowed as he searched for the right words. Emma could see the moment stretching, the weight of it palpable. He was standing at a crossroads, and she was breathless with anticipation. Finally, the mayor raised his hand. "I appreciate your passion. I truly do," he said, his voice steady but softened. "However, change is complicated. It will take time and deliberation." Jack stepped closer, his voice rising again. "Time is a luxury we can't afford. Every moment wasted is another moment we're telling our kids they don't belong." Emma felt a tremor in her core. Would they lose him to indecision? As she looked at Jack, something inside her ignited again. She stepped forward to speak, her heart pounding. "We're asking you to be a leader, not just a figurehead. Are you ready to lead us into a future where everyone feels valued?" The crowd buzzed with renewed fervor, and she could feel the energy shift. For a brief moment, even the mayor looked uncertain, his eyes darting from the eager faces to the hopeful signs held up high. Then, the mayor shook his head, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "It's not that simple," he replied, but there was a flicker of something more in his eye. "There are many at stake. My constituents have lived by these traditions. Traditions evolve." Someone shouted from the back. "They should reflect our values now, not what they once were." The words struck a chord, and ripples of agreement spread through the crowd. Emma let out a breath of relief. She could see the mayor beginning to waver, his rigid stance softening just enough to let hope seep in. "And what do you know of my fears?" he asked, almost to himself. He crossed his arms tightly, as if guarding against a sincere response. "What would I say to those who believe their way of life is being threatened?" "Tell them the truth," Emma exclaimed, her voice crackling with fervor. "Tell them you are doing this for everyone, for their kids, and their future, because love is not a threat. It's the foundation of this community." Applause erupted again, louder and more vigorous. Emma could feel it building, a swell of determination. Even Jake, who had been quietly observing, shouted, "You can't let fear guide your decisions anymore. We're all listening and waiting for you." The mayor's shoulders slumped a fraction lower, the fight slowly dimming in his eyes, the fight Emma had so desperately hoped would fade. Finally, he looked back at the crowd, absorbing their energy, their hopes swelling around him. "Let me be clear," he said, his tone solemn yet edged with something new. "I want to protect this city, but you are right. I have to challenge what that means. I can't promise everything overnight, but..." Emma's heart raced, threaded with hope. "But I can start a dialogue. A town meeting for everyone. We'll talk about change." He paused, the room vibrating with barely contained joy. "And I will listen. No more half measures." Joy rippled through the crowd, a mix of laughter, cheers, and shouts of disbelief. Emma covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes as the magnitude of what was unfolding hit her. But could this truly be the beginning? "Thank you," Jack shouted, turning to Emma and pulling her into a jubilant embrace. The room swelled, vibrating with the sound of change reverberating in the air. But just as the celebration began to unfold, a sharp voice cut through the commotion, laced with sharp skepticism. "You promised us a town meeting, but how do we know this isn't just political maneuvering? How can we trust you now?" The energy shifted again, and Emma's heart dropped. The challenge was thrown, and the tension tightened once more. She could feel the eyes of the crowd darting back to the mayor, waiting. Was this victory just a fleeting moment? Or would it lead to a lasting transformation in their community? Emma's pulse raced as they stood on the edge of what could become life-altering. What would the mayor say next? How would he address the doubts now creeping in? The mayor took a deep breath, the moment hanging in the air like a fragile thread. He could feel the weight of skepticism pressing against him, the crowd silently demanding reassurance. Emma held her breath, her heart in her throat. This was the critical moment. "I appreciate your honesty," he said, his voice measured but strained. "Trust is easily lost, and I understand it will take more than words to rebuild. I've been in this position too long, shielding our community from what I thought was the right choice. But it seems the very people I want to protect are asking for something different." A flicker of hope danced in Emma's chest. Could he finally be acknowledging the truth, that fear had clouded his judgment all this time? The crowd moved restlessly, their whispers tumbling over each other. Jack stepped forward again, his demeanor a mixture of hope and urgency. "We believe in you, but actions speak louder than words. Will you commit to this meeting for real change? Families need to hear not only about your plans but also feel assured they won't lose what they cherish. Together, we can create a community where every voice is valued." The mayor's eyes locked onto Jack's, and there was recognition there. It was as if he saw the very heart of the matter: people, connections, love. "You're right," he said finally, "and as part of this dialogue, I want to host not just a meeting, but a series of conversations, workshops, whatever it takes." He was interrupted by a ripple of applause, but Emma noticed that some faces remained cautious. Doubts were still present, flickering behind hopeful eyes. "Will you listen to all voices?" Another voice called out, an older man near the back. "Not only those who agree with you." The mayor nodded, the corners of his mouth lifting in genuine appreciation. "I will. This isn't about my leadership. This is about all of us moving forward together. I'm willing to listen to every opinion, every concern, including those who have been hesitant." Jack's expression was a mix of joy and disbelief, and Emma felt tears brimming as she caught his eye. They were on the edge of something monumental. This could transform not just their community but the very way they viewed each other. As the crowd erupted into supportive cheers, the tension transformed into a ripple of unity. People started to share ideas about topics for the workshops, eager to voice their thoughts. Children pulled on their parents' sleeves, eyes shining with hope. It was a moment of collective heartbeat, a testament to resilience and growth. But at the fringes of the crowd, Emma noticed a group of onlookers lingering in silence. Their expressions were serious, skeptical, and they exchanged whispers. Just when the celebration felt unstoppable, doubt was lingering like a shadow. "Everything must be transparent," one of them said, stepping forward with a determined glare. "How do we know this is sincere? You want to shine a light, but will you let us see the truth?" Emma's heart dropped. The energy shifted as uncertainty swirled once again. The mayor had taken a big step, but would it be enough to bridge the gap of doubt? Could they truly create a community binding all voices if skepticism reigned? As the cheers began to fade, Emma caught the mayor's eye, and he nodded, resolute. "I understand. Trust has to be earned," he said, his voice steady. "And this journey starts right now with every single one of you alongside me." But would this commitment be enough in the face of fear? The air crackled with the possibilities of change. Emma felt her own heart race again. She wondered if, in this fragile moment of hope, they could truly galvanize the community. What would it take to silence the doubts for good? The tension in the air was thick enough to slice through. Emma felt it wrap around her like a heavy blanket, cocooning her thoughts. The mayor had taken an important step, But would the community believe his intentions were genuine? The newfound enthusiasm teetered on the razor's edge of skepticism, and even the smallest push could send it crashing down. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next words to fall from the mayor's lips. He scanned the faces before him, trying to catch a glimpse of their doubt, their hope, their hesitation. Emma held her breath, her fingers anxiously entwined, hoping for something, anything, that would push them forward into the light of trust. Trust, the mayor continued, breaking the silence that had settled like fog, is not just given, it's built. I want to invite each of you to help me lay the foundation. His voice rang out, growing stronger, more confident. I'll hold office hours, community forums, whatever you think will bring us together. But I need you, your ideas, your voices. If we're going to do this, we will do it together. A wave of murmurs raced through the crowd, some enthusiastic and others reluctant. Emma could see the older man who had questioned the mayor earlier still standing stiff, arms crossed over his chest. She wondered what it would take to convince him and those like him that change was possible. Suddenly, a young woman stepped forward, her face a mix of resolve and vulnerability. What if we share stories? She proposed, her voice trembling slightly. Personal experiences that show us what we have to lose. Maybe then, we'll see how our lives are interconnected. The crowd murmured again, and Emma felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Storytelling. It was heartfelt, relatable, and could touch the deepest parts of their community. She mentally noted to approach the woman after the meeting, eager to collaborate. The mayor nodded, a genuine smile breaking through his earlier tension. Absolutely. Our stories are the heart of this community. I'd love to hear them. Let us make that our first workshop, a safe space for sharing and listening. As applause erupted once more, Emma suddenly caught sight of the reluctant man again. He still seemed unconvinced, shifting his weight from one leg to another, brows furrowed. A part of Emma wanted to rush to him, to understand his fears, but she also felt the electric power of the moment, the excitement sweeping through the crowd around her. Just as she was about to turn to Jack, a voice interrupted low and sharp. And what about the decisions made behind closed doors? A gruff voice echoed from the back of the crowd. How will we know this isn't just theater? The atmosphere chilled. Emma felt her stomach knot again. The mayor's face turned serious, but he responded calmly. I promise to keep everything transparent. I will share updates regularly and will invite scrutiny and questions. This is a mutual agreement. We want to build trust. The energy was shaky, swirling back into caution, and Emma could sense his challenge to meet skepticism head-on. She leaned into Jack, their eyes searching one another for encouragement. Then, almost surprisingly, a teenager raised a hand. Can we bring music into this? Could help us express ourselves better. The crowd slowly lit up this idea, laughter peppering the doubts. But Emma knew it wasn't enough to buoy everyone's spirits. The shadows still loomed all around. She had to do something. Let us make it a community song, Emma suggested, her voice pushing through the chatter. Let us combine our stories, music, and hope into one voice. As she spoke, something shifted in the crowd. A surge of energy sparked again, and for the first time people began to rally around the idea, talking and brainstorming. But beneath the excitement, doubt still lay waiting. Could they really push past the barriers? Would the skepticism melt away to reveal the light of unity? The mayor's eyes met Emma's, and she saw the determination in them. Change was on the horizon, but it would demand strength from everyone. Their fate hinged on the next steps, and Emma's heart raced as she realized their community's journey had only just begun. How would they channel their fears into action? What hidden stories remained, waiting to emerge? The gymnasium felt electric with a palpable energy. Emma stood amidst the talking, bright faces, with Jack beside her and Jake at her feet, a tangible swell of hope rising. They were no longer simply mother and son fighting against shadows. They had become a collective voice, echoing the hearts of many yearning for connection. What will it take to keep this momentum going? Emma murmured to Jack, who was scanning the room, equally hopeful and anxious. We've made a good start, but there are still doubts. Jack nodded, his own determination shining through. We can't stop now. We've got to keep the conversations flowing. Keep inviting more people to share and listen. We need to build trust one step at a time. Emma's heart raced. This was what she had always envisioned, a community wrestling with its own complexities and emerging. Not perfect but together. But just as she started to feel the weight of possibility, she caught a glimpse of the old man from earlier, standing near the exit. His face was taut with skepticism. What's holding him back? She thought. Suddenly, without hesitation, she broke through the crowd towards him. As she approached, his eyes flickered with surprise. "Hello, sir," Emma said gently, grounding her voice in sincerity. "I noticed you were quiet during the conversation. I want to hear your thoughts." The man hesitated, gruff lines etched deeply on his face. "I've lived here long enough to remember the changes. Some stick, some don't. I don't know if this will last," he admitted quietly. Emma could feel her own heartbeat echo. "Change can be overwhelming, I get that. But we're here to have those hard conversations together. What's the fear that holds you back?" He shifted slightly, as if considering her words. "I'm afraid of losing what made this town feel like home. Traditions matter. They give us identity. What if your voices drown out all that?" Emma opened her heart. Traditions are important because they tell our stories. But if they don't grow with us, they risk becoming chains. We want a home that embraces everyone, even if we have different paths. That's part of who we are, too. A flicker of understanding passed over his face. "So you're saying there's strength in expanding our stories?" "Absolutely," she beamed. "When we share, we find connections deeper than we realized. This is a chance to bridge divides instead of creating new ones." Slowly, he nodded, and for the first time, fear gave way to the smallest light of hope. Meanwhile, as these dialogues unfolded, the mayor stood back, observing the transformation taking root. "I'm committed to ensuring transparency," he declared, stepping back to the center. "But with each step, each story shared, we inch closer to the heart of our community." A ripple of applause coursed through the crowd. Encouragement surged like a wave, and Emma felt a spark ignite. "Let's commit to regular gatherings," she suggested, turning to the audience. "A space for sharing stories, learning, and even music, where everyone can express themselves." "Yes." A voice rang out, igniting a chorus of agreement. The once predictable dynamics of the room began to shift before her eyes. People started to exchange ideas of what those gatherings might look like: a music night, a storytelling festival, a family picnic. Plans began to form, colors igniting the once vague landscape of hopes. Jake tugged on his mother's shirt. "Can we do a basketball day too?" He chimed in, the innocence of his question cracking a few smiles amidst the serious undertones. "Absolutely," Emma laughed, ruffling his hair. "Sports has its way of uniting us beyond any barriers." A few laughter-filled moments spent discussing the potential for transformation felt liberating. Stories and ideas spun freely, weaving a tapestry of acceptance and shared experiences. Among laughter and dialogue, doubts fell to the wayside, and what once was a gathering of strained faces surged into an assembly of possibility. "I'm excited to host the next meeting," the mayor smiled as he surveyed the room. "We'll place an emphasis on listening to every voice. Your stories count too." As cheers erupted, Emma felt the warmth in her chest swell. This was about more than just Jake. It was about a community laying the first bricks in the pathway toward understanding and acceptance. As the day wound down with smiles and hope-filled chatter, Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She looked down at Jake, who was animatedly recounting basketball stories to Jack. She silently vowed to herself that she'd nurture this atmosphere, continuing to bridge the often invisible gaps that pulled them all apart. But before she turned away, she glanced back at the old man, now deep in conversation with another neighbor, laughter breaking the barriers of doubt. "Change is coming," Emma whispered to herself, a smile breaking across her face. "We'll embrace it together." And with that, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over Maple Grove that seemed to flourish with the promise of new beginnings. This was not the end, but the beginning of a deeper connection that respected their past while boldly walking into a future filled with light and acceptance. Don't wait not even one more second. If you felt the emotional tide of this story, you need to subscribe now for more incredible transformations. Drop a like now to feed the algorithm and keep stories like this alive. Comment your thoughts, feelings, or personal connections to this ending, and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful message. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through your actions. Let us keep this journey alive together.